Welcome to Mudville, a podcast about baseball and cinema. I'm Brody Staub.
I'm Nolan Raybine.
We hope you enjoy. I will say, opening day in the bleachers, you should expect beer is the best thing, the best liquid that could end up on you.
Certainly. So. But the main point is I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about this year, and I was thinking to myself, I would be okay just watching the bleacher creatures this year,
I think watching them from afar. And we have a good seat to watch them in. We're going to be directly behind home plate, about 300 feet in the air. So nice. It's going to be great. I'm very excited. I like those seats a lot, actually. I've sat in them before.
That's going to be fantastic. Well, if we have any
very good time,
any Mudville listeners who are also going to be in the game, come through and say hey.
You don't know what we'd look like if you were just listening.
We are the white kids.
White dudes who look like they host a podcast about baseball movies.
And are probably talking shit to Isaiah Kiner-Falefa.
Or Josh Donaldson. Although Josh Donaldson, he shines on opening day.
Yeah.
So
that's true. And we're 300 feet in the air, so they're definitely going to be able to hear us.
That's true. Yeah. That is true. I will say, I went to a game in 2021, I think, in like May. It was a Yankee-Ray game, and it was right after they right after they had opened up at all. And the stadium was at like 20% capacity or whatever. So basically it felt like there was nobody there. It was the strangest feeling I've ever had at a Yankee game. It felt like going to a high school game. My brother and I were in section like 120 or something. We were so close to the Rays dugout. And I said to him at one point, I was like, do you realize that if we yell at them, they can like absolutely hear it? Like there was nobody in the stadium. And I remember yelling at Randy. I was like, Randy, you realize they're not going to pay you, right?
Well, they're not.
We're not. They are not. And also, Tyler Glasnow was pitching that day, and he absolutely shut us down. And I was like, I want him
As
to.
He does.
And he does do that. And that year, he was great. And it was just all...
A guy who I can hope will be back on the field soon in about 2 months. And another guy who might be back on the field in 2 months, Jose Altuve, who got hit on the hand towards the end of the World Baseball Classic.
Ban it. Ban it.
Brutal injury.
Ban it all.
Yes. Speaking of which, Rhys Hoskins also tore his ACL, meaning ban spring training.
Ban it.
Let's just ban baseball.
Ban it all. People get hurt.
Ban the sport.
Ban it all. It's dumb.
We'll play it on a spreadsheet for real.
Yeah.
No more injuries.
Yeah, Brian Cashman is now the embodiment of the New York Yankees. So if you like, it's going to be Stratomatic baseball. That's
Calculator baseball.
It's like Dungeons and Dragons.
Yep. So much fun. But the World Baseball Classic had two of the most exciting games I have ever seen to wrap it up in the two final days. First of which was Japan's crazy comeback in the ninth inning.
Can you even call
Mexico.
That a comeback? Like it was a comeback.
Don't call it a comeback.
Don't call it a comeback. They were losing the entire game.
Yeah. And
then the only time they were winning was when it wasn't the game anymore. Like how is that? It's you gotta love baseball.
You do.
I don't even think you can call it. It's a comeback. It's a come from behind win, but it's like. You know, the Mexico comeback against Puerto Rico was a comeback.
Oh, sure.
But I feel like that was
crazy.
That was like a victory.
For those of you who might not know or do not remember, Mexico's pitcher Julio Urias gave up a 4 spot in the first, and then their offense came back to bail him out.
Yep, and the manager called it.
Yeah.
In a sideline interview, he was like, we're going to chip away every inning. We're going to come back and win this game.
That's how you do it.
They did.
Yeah. Well, anyway, they did not beat Japan. Neither did the United States during the final. We witnessed maybe the single greatest at-bat in MLB history as Shohei Ohtani struck out Mike Trout, his teammate, to end the World Baseball Classic and bring a championship home to Team Japan.
What drama.
It was incredible.
Amazing drama.
Wasn't it?
It was incredible. Oh, God, it was so good.
It's a moment that feels scripted, but it just, that was the most wide-reaching baseball moment that had more of a global impact than anything that baseball had ever seen to that point.
Globally, that's actually probably a very true point now that I think about it.
96% of Japanese TVs were set to that at-bat.
There's no way that's true.
Well, probably not.
There's no way that's true. Because here's the thing, too. I've seen so many videos of all these people like watching the game at a bar or in a mall, and like in Japan where there's like 60 people in there. So those people are not all at home.
Well,
so does it like TVs that were on? Is that what it's saying?
That was my understanding of it. Would be of the TVs that were on.
They could also
96% of them. I can't imagine.
Was it being simulcast on every network? Because then I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe there was nothing else on TV.
24 out of 25 Japanese citizens were watching that game.
I mean, apparently Ohtani is like a beetle there.
Oh, I believe it.
That's I mean, Michael Kay yesterday said that when he was traveling with the team, with the Yankees, like back in the days of Hideki Matsui, he said that Hideki Matsui was straight up felt like they were traveling with Paul McCartney in England.
Yeah.
Like it was like just being
Shohei
swamped,
McCartney.
and they're saying that Shohei is like even bigger. Like
he's bigger than Jesus.
He's bigger than Jesus, and him and John Lennon.
Yeah,
Shohei and John Lennon. They have the same vibe.
Those two people only.
Yep. Yeah, Shohei against Trout, definitely going to go down in the history books as one of those kind of transcendent moments in the sport, which is cool because baseball hasn't had anything like that in a long time.
People from other sports were talking about it.
Yeah.
The entire world, everybody was saying, "Did you catch?
Did you see that?
Mike
Did you
Trout?
see the final? It was great.
Connor McDavid said something about
I saw that too.
the hockey
McDavid.
player.
Great
Only
hockey
reference ever on this podcast, by the way.
Probably.
Hockey fans, there it is. Enjoy it.
Apologies.
It's not
in
coming
advance.
back.
Look, here's the thing. That might not necessarily be true because the Rangers are really good right now. I
don't care.
Can I have a hockey tangent for a second?
No, but sure.
I'm going to do it.
Okay.
So here's what I know about hockey, and it's not much. The Bruins are the best team in hockey right now, like by far. But the Rangers just made a huge move at the deadline. They got Harry Kane. He's like this forward.
Patrick Kane.
What did I say?
Harry.
I studied about
Harry Kane's a soccer player.
See, I told you I don't know much about hockey.
That's okay.
Patrick Kane. Patrick Kane's a goal scorer from Chicago, and they got him at the deadline. How did you know that? You claim to not know shit about hockey. Look at you. You little minx. You know more than you let on.
Yeah.
Anyway, Harry Kane is a soccer player. Patrick Kane is the newest Ranger, and the Rangers are making a playoff push. And I do kind of pay attention to the Rangers when in the playoffs. If the Rangers do win the Stanley Cup, we'll probably have to talk about it.
Great. Well, keep an eye out for that.
Or don't. Now you know which episode to skip.
We've got about 2 hours left until MLB The Show 23 comes out.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna hook that shit into my veins this year, man. I'm clearing the schedule already.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
You know what? I'm gonna have to do the same thing.
I just can't wait for it.
Gonna use some birthday money.
This is the first year that I'm gonna have it on the next generation PlayStation 5 console. Sony has been rolling out all of their content all day, hyping up their games. And actually, they have made such an effort this year to promote global baseball. They've got cards for guys like Roki Sasaki.
Yeah, the WBC, right?
Munetaka Murakami. Yeah, they got WBC packs. It just looks like it's a much more expansive game this year, much more inclusive, and just much bigger in general, and I am so excited to play it. Anybody out there who wants to challenge me to a game, I'd love to make it happen. Midnight, we got MLB The Show coming out 1 week away. Baseball season is back, and it has been a long winter. So we're quite excited for this.
Absolutely. And the cool thing about the WBC is that the WBC. It's the cool thing about the WBC is that it served as a bit of a trailer. Like if you liked that, which you should have, guess what? Opening days in 9 days or whatever it was at the
7.
time. At the time, I'm saying. So, like, when it wrapped up, they could be like, "Wow, how about that?" Feeling, the adrenaline and everything that just gave you. Guess what? In 9 days, those two dudes are going to be on the same team,
losing
the Angels because they are ruining such a good thing. That is going to be like, I mean, holy crap! It's going to be looking back like they had Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, and they never even made the playoffs.
I've been watching Martin Scorsese's movies in chronological order very recently, going through some of the ones I had not seen and quite a few that I have, and it's been very interesting to see how some of the movies that I had not seen recontextualize some of the ones that I have. And it was also interesting seeing how in the 1980s so much of his cinema changed, because I had already seen King of Comedy and After Hours, which are both sort of more entertainment, more popcorn movie-ish than some of his downbeat flicks of the 1970s. And this is, of course, a time where Ronald Reagan was president and Steven Spielberg was taking over Hollywood. The movies of John Hughes were so popular, and American cinema was turning into a corporate wasteland, and the best director of the new Hollywood found himself at odds with where the market was headed. And it's been interesting for me to see how he responded to that. New to me movies were The Color of Money, and I'm still watching The Last Temptation of Christ. I've been kind of doing that one in chunks. I have trouble with some of Scorsese's epics about religious suffering just because it's something that's so intangible to me and something that I just don't concern myself with, that when craft on display is immaculate as always, and it's just not something that I can put in the upper pantheon amongst one of my favorite filmmakers ever and one of the greatest directors to ever live. It is quite interesting, though, that he followed up both of his 3-hour religious epics, The Last Temptation of Christ and 2016's Silence, with Goodfellas and The Irishman. I also went to Film Forum this week and I saw Charles Lawton's Night of the Hunter starring Robert Mitchum, and it was tons of fun to go and see a classic like that. One of the greatest horror films ever. If you would ask some people, they might even say the greatest. There are tons of Night of the Hunter heads out there. And for good reason.
People love Night of the Hunter.
They do.
People love Night of the Hunter.
Robert Mitchum portrays one of the most terrifying movie villains of all time. This southern singing preacher who is coming after these two children to hunt down their dad's money. Those who know Night of the Hunter know that it is Charles Lawton's only directorial effort, which is just insane. Incredible cinematography, a remarkable usage of lighting. It was a lot of fun seeing a movie like that in a full crowd of people who were excited to see it in an intimate theater like the Film Forum, and I will certainly be going back again to experience more rep cinema screenings in the city of New York. In other film-related news, Shazam 2 flopped. Who cares?
Back to movies. We're gonna throw back to Shazam.
Superhero cinema has been an abandoned strip mall for years now, and to see it finally dying is giving me great relief.
I'm good with it.
Yep.
Later.
Bye-bye.
You guys had your time.
We've had enough.
We've had your time. It's, you know what? It's baseball time.
It's baseball time.
No, I'm kidding.
But you're done. Even the kids don't care anymore.
I don't think they care anymore because the only
kids
thing
are on
is
fucking TikTok.
But the only thing they know about movies is that there's superheroes in them. So like, how are they going to go see anything else?
That's so crazy to think.
Yeah, dude. If
That's
you're
depressing.
like 7, imagine if you're 7 right now. Okay, if you were 7, you were born in 2016. Terrifying. That means that the only like movie, like blockbuster movies, dude. A 7-year-old's brain right now is fucked up.
Yeah,
hold on. Because,
no, it is.
So the pandemic when they were 4. Which probably don't really know anything about school because that would have been right when they were supposed to go. So school's weird. Movies are all boring and about superheroes who passed their prime in 2014, 2 years before they were born. But it's literally the only thing that's made for them.
Everything started returning to a world that they didn't know and arguably didn't exist anymore.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah,
they're growing up hearing that everything has to return to a world that they don't know. That's crazy.
Insane.
Wow.
It's like a freaking movie.
Wow.
Speaking of movies, John Wick 4. I'm going to see it hopefully soon.
Have you seen the first 3?
Oh, yeah.
Are they good?
The first 3 John Wick movies are actually very, very entertaining.
I've never seen them.
Some of my friends from home, they aren't huge like film heads, but I remember 2019 we all rolled out to see John Wick 3. We watched him kill Boban Marjanovic with a book.
Wait.
Yeah.
Is Boban actually in the...
He's in John Wick 3.
Really?
Yeah. John Wick...
How'd you know it was him? Yeah, how'd you recognize him?
Yeah, it's one of the memorable scenes I'd say in the trilogy. It's like one of the first ones in John Wick 3. He shows up, he's in a library, and he like quietly fights this 7-foot Russian who, of course, is being played by the at the time center for the San Antonio Spurs,
Boban Marjanovic.
Yeah, and he like
Amazing.
shoves a book like into his mouth to kill him repeatedly, like over. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Incredible.
You should come with me this weekend, and then we can talk about
That'd
it on
be
the
good.
podcast.
We should do it.
It'd be a nice change of pace to talk about.
Do
a
I
movie
have
that
to
you've
see
seen.
the first 3 to?
I would say not real. I mean, I would say definitely see them.
Am I gonna be lost?
I don't
Isn't
know.
it just about murder?
Yeah, pretty much.
Is there a story?
They're just gun fu movies, but they're very good gun fu
It's the
movies.
same thing as Fast and the Furious, basically, is it not?
I mean,
Am I gonna get
kinda,
everybody mad at me for
but
saying that?
Probably not.
Okay.
I've never seen the Fast and the Furious movies, but it's basically
You have never seen the Fast and the Furious movies?
guns instead of cars.
How the fucking turntables! All right, let's do 20 minutes on Fast 6.
Do it.
So-
Yeah, no. Let's hear it. Go off.
All right, so here's what
Let's
I
hear it,
remember about
Jonathan
every
Rosenbaum.
I think I've seen 2 Fast and Furious movies, but I honestly don't know which ones. And I don't. The only thing I remember that happens in them is that one of them there was like a tank that they were driving, and then for some reason, like The Rock was like friends with all of them, but then he wasn't, but then he was, and then Ludacris is in it for some reason, and you're like, this is weird because he's Ludacris and he's acting, and I just the first time I saw it I didn't know that he was in it, and I was like, I'm Ludacris. Like, it turns out that he's a main character, and I think I turned to my friend that I was with, I was like, is Ludacris like a part of these movies? Movie time.
It's freaking movie time.
I
We're
like that.
back.
We're using that now as that means it's movie time.
That means it's movie time.
I mean, we've done it more than once now. That means it's a pattern.
I'd say it's a tradition even.
It could be.
Wow.
Could be.
Crazy times here on Mudville.
Yeah.
Well, we watched 1942's The Pride of the Yankees,
Great
directed
movie.
by Sam Wood, director of Marx Brothers comedies A Night at the Opera and A Day at the Races,
Sure.
as well as the
Do you
1939
do any afternoon movies?
Goodbye, Mr. Chips. That's a hell of a title.
Where did he go? Where's Mr. Chips?
You know what movie I'm interested in?
What's that?
Hello, Mr. Chips.
That's the sequel.
I want to know where
Yeah.
it came from.
What about Good Morning, Mr. Chips? That's the third one.
I don't know. I think now we're pushing it. Anyways, Sam Wood, some studio asshole. Anyway, this movie is starring Gary Cooper as the Iron Horse, Lou Gehrig, Titan of the New York Yankees, held the all-time consecutive games played record until Cal Ripken broke it.
Cal Ripken Jr.
I mean, what do you even say about him that hasn't been said? It's Lou freaking Gehrig. He's the Iron Horse.
Yeah, do you have any hot
who he
Lou
is.
Gehrig takes?
You know his speech. You know how he died.
Wait, what did he say?
And this is a movie about his life, which came out surprisingly soon after he died.
Learned. So he died in 1941. This movie came out in 1942.
Yeah.
Which maybe there was a different cultural thing about something like that. Like maybe they didn't see it as so callous or like
Hollywood was
cash
just
grab.
so
Like,
different. This was before any Hollywood movies how we see them today.
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I thought it held up pretty well.
certainly holds-
It's cool to see.
Yeah.
It's really cool to see old New York, and like Babe Ruth is in it.
Yeah.
Bill Dickey is in it. Like all these like old Yankees are actually they're playing themselves, and
a number of the New York Yankees from this era played themselves. We had a fun Babe Ruth performance, which just, even if this was really a terrible movie, you know, like it's wild to watch Babe Ruth in a movie because I've never really heard him talk.
Me neither. I've only heard him talk a few times. It was kind of cool to see. And he also played, like, they show him play baseball a little bit in it, and like not really play baseball, but they, you know, he's like, he has a bat, and he's, you know, they have him like throwing, and he's like old now because he retired, I think, in the mid 30s.
He did.
Is the early 40s.
Yeah.
And he died a few years after this too. But they show the first time you see him, he's ripping a hot dog also, which is kind of fun. He shows up in the locker room. He's like, "Boys, how are we?" And he's like ripping a dog, and it's just like, yeah, that's what I want for Ruth content.
Yeah, most of the scenes, all the scenes where we see Babe Ruth are always in the context of palling around with the guys. He's like, "Hey, babe, we saw you with your cigar. You've always worn great hats, babe, but this one takes the cake.
This is a good one."
There's an insane scene where the team eats
confused.
Babe Ruth's hat.
Eat his hat.
Like they start taking bites out of his hat.
Taking this sounds like a bit that we're doing. This is not a bit.
This is real.
Eat his hat.
They eat Babe Ruth's hat, and then they hand the hat to Lou Gehrig, who gets caught with the hat, and then Babe Ruth is like, "Why, you little like Homer, like choking on Bart, thinking he was just chowing down on this like straw hat."
Wait, there's also
so strange.
Speaking of weird violent stuff in this movie, there's a moment early on. It's when Lou Gehrig is trying to rush the frat that he joined at Columbia, which I feel like it's wrong to call it a frat. I feel like you have to call it a fraternity because it's like a Columbia fraternity from the 40s, and they're all very proper. They wear suits and are fed by butlers, you know, as frats do. So it's like he's sitting there, and you know, they had just had their dance or something, and he met this girl, and like she gave him flowers or something to remember her by, and then one of his fraternity brothers like is, you know, giving him some shit, and he's like, he says the same thing. He's like, you know, I'm moving out of here next because I'm a senior, I'm graduating, but I want you boys to all have these. And he's like, you know, he's taking the piss at Lou Gehrig, and Gary Cooper leaps over the table, like full extension on this table, and tries to choke slam this dude from a chair. And it's like, you know, that we just don't see that anymore. You don't see that anymore. I want more of that in my movies and in real life. I would love to see someone leap over a table, try to fucking kill someone for, you know, making fun of them lightly.
Well, yeah,
give me more of that.
Towards the start of the movie, this movie opens with a bunch of kids playing baseball in a sand lot, and of course,
I want to go play baseball in a sand lot
badly
behind a wall.
I want to play baseball so badly. Yeah.
So bad.
And a young Lou Gehrig cranks a home run, breaks a window, and then the adult comes down, yells at the kids, "What are you kids doing?" And I broke the ball, or I broke the window.
Well, the cops come over, and they, you know, it's not like he could have really lied because he literally was sliding into home plate. You can't be like, "I didn't hit it." It's like, no, the rules.
I like how in this scene, one of the kids I like about the scene, they're playing the game, and he has a bunch of baseball cards, and one of them is a Babe Ruth rookie card, and the kid is like, he's just a rookie. Do you want it? No, you keep it. So you know, that's a nice little nod to some of the insiders in the audience who've heard of this Babe Ruth fella. A lot of the scenes where are introduced to Lou Gehrig are kind of like, "Aw, shucks, there's Gehrig, the all-American fullback," and then, you know,
my favorite part is the football coach who really doesn't want him to get recruited for baseball. He's like, "We had who did he have? It's like Hal Chase or something like that. He ended up being a Yankee, so we can't don't turn him into a ball player. We need him for the football team." It's like, it's kind of fun to think of a time where, you know, the real athletes went to baseball.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Did you notice that there was a scene where they were like, "Don't call a doctor, he'll cost $2.
Well, wait, there was another moment where Lou Gehrig's mother has to go to the hospital, and it's right when Lou Gehrig is on his way out to Hartford to start playing for like the Yankees minor league system or something like that. So they go to the hospital, and at one point he says, don't worry about it. All the city hospitals are free. And I was like, wait a minute.
I wish.
Wait. We've gone backwards? I knew that we are not. I know we're behind. I didn't know that the city used to have free health care, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, I'm not sure that it did. That's not something I'm very well versed in.
I had no idea. I am inclined to believe the movie, but either way, kind of interesting.
A lot of it is taken up by this narrative arc of Lou Gehrig's mother wanting him to be an engineer.
Yeah.
And then, of course, as soon as she sees a baseball diamond, that all changes.
She's like, I'm never going to a game.
Yeah.
Then she goes to a game.
They do spend a little bit too much time on that, I think.
Yeah,
it's very difficult for me to draw a lot of tension out of the question of whether or not Lou Gehrig is going to play professional baseball.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, skip past this a little bit.
There is something interesting, though, about this. You know, if you look at it analytically and you want to do, you know, a real deep dive, it's like he's this doomed soon-to-be hero, you know, whose mother only wants him to go into this field and because she wants him to go be someone. And there's this cool kind of like, you know, yeah, but like he does, like it's, you know, it's you know, he becomes someone else and like he becomes a hero to millions, like all these things, you know, it's like it's different.
They want the same things, they just don't know it.
Exactly. It's cool.
Little interesting scene where he tells his mother he's going to Hartford, and she hears,
Harvard.
"Oh, he's going to Harvard."
And their engineering school is fantastic.
So that's kind of how they let it. They kind of like let him leave.
We should also mention this movie is like 2 hours and 10 minutes long.
It is long, and it does drag a little bit.
Long.
Yeah,
there's a whole scene actually where I was watching it and thinking that this does not have to, like, this could be any movie from back then. This has nothing to do with the fact that he's Lou Gehrig. It's
what
when they go to the dance and then they go to like a fair. And there's like he does like ring the bell with the strength hammer, and like, you know, they go, there's a singer and they go to a ballroom dance, and like it's like and the second, you know, Babe Ruth and the baseball showed up, I was like, you know, everyone look, it's it's the Yankees. It's the Yankees from the 40s. But, you know, the rest of it I was like, man, these people would have no idea what I'm watching. If I should, you know, it's just like, it's, you know, well, let's focus on the you know, the love story I thought was good. I enjoyed it. It was cute. It was fun. It was very sweet.
Yeah, no, I thought that it was certainly well played and well acted.
Yeah, there was a lot of it though that could have been.
Yeah, this movie could have been a tight 90.
Yes,
I think we're pretty confident in saying that.
Yes.
Anyways, Wally Pipp, the Yankees' first baseman, starts seeing double, and then they put old Tanglefoot in the game.
Tanglefoot.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, if somebody hit you with Tanglefoot in the 20s, you were done.
You were cooked.
Done. There was nothing you could say. Forever. Tanglefoot. Oh, man. Prone to feet tangling.
Yeah, to contextualize that a bit, Lou Gehrig steps into his first game, trips on a bat, immediately eats shit.
A bat. All the bats.
All of the bat. Yeah, he trips on all of the... I don't even know how he did that.
They were set up like a conveyor belt.
Yeah.
What were they doing?
And then his future wife calls out from the crowd and dubs him Tanglefoot, and the whole stadium laughs. Then, and then of course he's
like,
hit.
That dame is gonna be mine.
Yeah. The hot dog king's daughter. There's a scene in the movie later on where Babe Ruth hits a home run for a sick kid in the hospital, so Lou Gehrig hits two.
Yep.
Kind of a dick move.
No, the kid asked him. The kid asked him. So Babe Ruth is in the hospital. It's kind of funny that Babe Ruth agreed to this, because the way that it comes off, at least now, so Babe Ruth is in the hospital. There's all these cameras and reporters and everything. Like, you know, everyone's focusing on this kid, you know, the sick kid, Little Billy, in the hospital. Of course, his name is, you know, Little Billy. Babe Ruth agrees to, you know, hit a homer for him. He's like, oh, yeah, of course I'll hit a homer for you. And then, you know, he's like, how about you can pick a field, left, right, or center? Has center field. How about that? And the kid never answers. It's like a publicity thing. And then his friend, who I never really figured out what this guy does. I think he's just his friend.
He just hangs out.
Yeah, he's just there.
He's just vibing.
Yeah, he's hanging out. So everybody leaves. Lou Gehrig just stays there. It's just him and the kid. And then his friend is like kind of watching through the door, like he doesn't know that he's there. Lou Gehrig like talks to the kid, and he's like, you know, the kid says, "Will you hit a home run for me too, mister?" And he has him send the ball, and he goes, yeah, sure, why not? You already got one from the babe, though. You want one from me, too? He's like, of course. Actually, can you hit 2 or something? And then he's like, well, all right. And then this story gets out of the pot. It's like, it kind of paints Ruth as being like this, vain dude, while like Lou Gehrig was like this genuine, nice guy, which I'm sure, he was, but it's interesting that Babe Ruth is literally playing himself.
Yeah,
it's true. Just kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's like it's interesting.
Maybe Babe Ruth one day like went to the hospital and was like, hey, go deep for this like sick kid. And then 20 minutes later he finds out that his teammate promised to hit 2 home runs, and then he actually did it.
Like his
teammate just gets
Ruth
all
hit
the
one
hype.
and Gehrig hit 2, in the World Series too.
And then 10 years later they ask you to go make a movie about how you got one-upped.
You got outdone. Yeah.
Gehrig also says something really kind of weird to this kid when he's in the hospital, where he's like, well, I'm going to do something for you, but you're going to do something for me, and you're going to get better, and you're going to fight for it. And it's like, he says it in such a way where, like, if you have
cancer, you just got to try harder.
And like, if the kid doesn't get better, like, he's going to feel like he didn't want it enough. Like, that's kind of fucked up.
Although there is genuinely at the end, I mean, what else are you going to tell a sick kid? That's all they can do. It's fine. It's fine. But there is a moment at the end, actually, that is really sweet, where the kid shows up right when Gehrig is going into the stadium to give his speech, because he's already been taken out of the lineup. He's gotten the diagnosis. And by the way, if you ever want to feel scared of randomly developing ALS, watch this movie.
Yeah.
Like, he's, it's, you don't think about it ever.
You don't,
and then turns out, but either way, this kid shows up at the door and he goes, Mr. Gehrig, I just wanted to tell you don't remember me? And he goes, no. And he goes, it's me, Billy. You visit me in the hospital. You hit 2 homers for me. He's like, oh, he just shows him that he can walk now. And it's like this very sweet moment.
Yeah.
That plays very well, I think, even now.
Yeah. ALS is not something that's typically on my radar, but this movie might have changed that.
Yeah. Gonna add it to the list of anxieties.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy that a guy named Lou Gehrig developed Lou Gehrig's disease.
Yeah, why would he do that?
What a coincidence.
Yeah, weird.
There's that scene where it's like they get married, and then there's a whole thing about the cops escorting him to the game, and they have that line, oh, it takes him 20 minutes to get home. Doesn't mean he gets home in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it's the closest that you could possibly come in 1942 to implying sex exists.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, and then the cops escort Lou Gehrig to the game, which is kind of funny, because like if they just run over some dude, like, sorry man, the Yankees first baseman, he's got to get there. You shouldn't have been in the way.
Yeah.
That's actually a really accurate
weird
representation of cops.
Yep. But you're forgetting the best representation of cops in the whole movie, which is where Lou Gehrig shows up at his soon-to-be fiance's door at 4 a.m, and he's stopped by Sheriff O'Doul, and he shows up and he's like, "Hey, you, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "I've just come to see about a young lady." And the guy's like, "At 4 a.m? What are you doing here? Who are you?" Which, like, it's none of your business.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I guess, sure, shady dude outside the door saying he's there for a young lady.
But
weird
also,
enough.
like,
but
the cops aren't going to, like, stop him. He's white.
Like, that too. This is the 40s.
Yeah.
And this is like, and the guy, then he says, well, it's me, Lou Gehrig. And he goes, oh, yeah, here, let me get you in the door. Hold on a second.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you're right. You are. I didn't notice. Anyway, here, let's buzz him.
Oh, boy.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
It's all strange.
And then from there, it gets into the, ALS stuff. The rest of the movie is a downer.
Sad.
I think it's played actually very well.
It is.
There's quite the emotional scene towards the end between Lou and Ellie.
She was great.
She was great.
Also,
this movie actually got 11 Academy Award nominations.
Did it win any?
I think it won Best Editing.
Interesting,
yeah.
for it to win for that, but okay.
It is.
Sure.
Yeah. I don't know.
I just didn't notice the editing.
I didn't notice the editing
back
either.
then is kind of the gold standard if you didn't notice it, because when editing was analog, that means a lot.
Sure.
If you don't actively think they did a shit job cutting this together.
This has been the Mudville Podcast, a podcast about baseball and cinema. I have been Nolan Rabine.
I have been Brody Staub.
Goodbye.